Bradley, I imagine you're exhausted by now. It's Ruth Hensley. One thing after another.
It has been a busy one. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
How's everybody doing?
Oh, great.
Good now.
Good.
What's for dinner?
The dining room is open.
The dining room is open.
Yeah, but I saw Jerry and he was on his way to shop for barbecue for us for tonight.
We were planning in the event that we could not open the dining room, but as soon as the power went back on, back to our original plans to open the dining room. So
thank you.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining.
Did he lighten his hair?
We had anticipated to have this originally scheduled weekly chat or community chat at 1:30. Had to change it due to a scheduling conflict, and that actually worked out better because I don't think we would have been able to have it at 1:30 anyway. A lot going on, and I have to give everyone advance notice that we're probably going to run a little shorter than we typically do. We'll most likely conclude today's community chat at 4 o'clock instead of 4:30. That way everyone can get on with their evenings and head over to the dining room if you're going to the dining room for dinner. And I've got a few items on my plate that need to get taken care of before the end of the day as well. I want to first and foremost really and sincerely thank the CERT volunteers for all that they did today in response to the power outage that we experienced. I wouldn't mind if you don't mind, Terry, if I put you on the spot for a minute, would you mind just taking a minute or two and recapping what some of the activities of the CERT volunteers were this morning?
Yeah, on the way to the main building, I did a check of each of the 4 elevators to make sure we didn't have anybody stuck somewhere between floors or in a closed elevator. And when I got to the main building, I said, how can I be helpful? And Christy and Sandy said, you know, we really ought to do a check of everybody to make sure they're okay. And so we mobilized the CERT team. Within about 15 minutes, CERT team members started arriving, and we assigned them to different buildings as they came on a first-come basis. And within an hour and a half, we had been to every doorway and knocked because the doorbells weren't working, and to find out if everybody was okay. The aerial system apparently needs 110 volt AC in order to operate, and it was not operating, so people didn't have a way of yelling for help if they needed it. There were some people who didn't answer the knocks on the door, maybe because we didn't knock hard enough, or maybe because they just wanted to have the world go away until the power came back on. But we went to every door and checked on as many people as we possibly could, and within an hour and a half we had that all done. And thanks to an incredible group of volunteers, so it worked well. I thought we did a good job, and we had a lot of fun along the way. There were some interesting bumps in the road, but we used our FRS radios, and were able to make sure that everybody that we could talk to was okay. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Great. Thank you so very much. I think that what a huge benefit this community has with such a wonderful and quick reacting CERT team. Really appreciate how quickly you were able to mobilize all of the volunteers, and for all of you that were part of that. Truly, thank you very much. Our buildings and grounds team And our entire team, I think, handled this situation as best as can be expected. And I appreciate everyone's hard work and patience. If there's one thing that I've learned over the past year and a half is our team members can adapt and adjust quickly, and our residents, you sure put up with a lot of stuff. You're resilient and you're patient with everything that comes along the way, and we really appreciate it. All right, a couple of updates. Today, as we mentioned earlier, and for those of you that may have just joined, the main dining room is in fact open for dinner this evening. We were scheduled to have the main dining room open for lunch. I told Jerry he was a little nervous for opening for lunch, but shutting off the power in half the town was a little overboard. He could have just told us he didn't want to open. I kid. But that main dining room will be open for dinner as scheduled. So if you have reservations, please head on down and enjoy your dinner. The menu may have some slight modifications from what was anticipated due to the activities earlier in the day, but it should be a wonderful dining experience for everybody. We are also back to, as of yesterday or 2 days ago, all the days are blending together, back to normal operations, or at least normal for today's world, operations in both the lodge and the Grove for assisted living and memory care. We are now permitting visitors in all areas, also back to normal operations in residential living as well. So visitors are permitted in all areas of the community, with the exception of the health center for the time being, and back to in-person group activities, in-person dining, in-person group dining in all of those areas as well. As we are certainly seeing more and more cases of COVID-19 with the surge of the Delta variant and potentially other variants as well, we want to strongly encourage everyone to continue to do all that you can, even after you've been vaccinated, to keep yourself protected, wearing masks, and when feasible and appropriate, keeping physical distance from others. We'll be sending out an update later this afternoon. We have one additional positive case that we've identified in the health center. And so there's really no changes at this point, because we're currently under observation in the health center, meaning that we're not allowing visitors at this time, and we are testing all the team members and residents every 3 to 4 days. So we were already doing that in response to previous positive tests that we had in the health center. And so essentially we're starting that clock over, and we'll just extend that testing period for another 2 weeks instead of another week, which is what it was scheduled for. It was a contracted care provider who was fully vaccinated. And so it was another breakthrough case, as we're seeing more and more of those. They are away from the community, obviously in isolation, and will remain there until they're fully recovered. We've conducted rapid tests on all those that that individual had contact with, and all of those rapid tests came back negative. And we're doing the PCR tests, which are sent out to the outside lab So we'll do those tests every 3 to 4 days for the next 2 weeks. We did the first round and they've been sent off to the lab, and we should get the results back probably tomorrow. On the subject of testing, who by raise of hands really enjoys being tested for COVID-19? It is such a pleasant experience, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
I know that it is an absolutely miserable experience. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like sometimes the nurses go a little deeper than usual. Maybe on those days when I've been particularly grumpy. But it's a good thing to test as frequently as possible. As everyone is aware, we had a dining services team member that tested positive about a week ago, and fortunately, it appears at this point to have been an isolated case, and we no longer need to have residential living residents under quarantine precautions. However, the Santa Clara County Department of Public Health has advised us that even though we don't need to be in quarantine, for our residential living residents don't need to be in quarantine, they would like us to continue to test all of the residential living residents every 3 to 4 days for 2 weeks, or at this point, another week and a half-ish. So we'll be sending something official out in writing. It was going to be today, but it won't most likely be tomorrow. It will definitely be tomorrow, that we are going to conduct another round of COVID testing for residential living residents on Monday. And then we will conduct one hopefully final round of testing next Thursday, a week from today. And again, this is for residential living residents. Ruth Hensley, question.
Some of us tomorrow are going to go to Half Moon Bay, leaving at 9, getting back at 3.
Have fun.
How about testing?
No, there won't be any testing between now and then.
Didn't you just say tomorrow we would get tested?
Did I say tomorrow?
No. No.
No. We'll send out the communication about it, the schedule in writing tomorrow.
Oh,
But the testing will be on Monday and Thursday of next week.
okay. Sorry, I misunderstood.
I probably miscommunicated.
Oh,
Who
Bradley,
knows?
Bradley.
Yes, Les Pedersen.
In some of the information that I see communicated to us through television and whatever, that the efficacy of some of the vaccines, particularly Moderna and Pfizer, do drop off in a fair amount over time. And could you address any information you might have about booster shots?
I'll share what I have, which is very, very little, which is probably nothing more than most of you already have. There's been nothing official from the CDC or the FDA on the topic of a booster or a third or second, in the case of Johnson & Johnson, vaccination shot. I did read this morning that there was some kind of communication, although I haven't read it closely, from Dr. Fauci, that there will most likely be a need for a booster shot. But there's nothing official, nor do I have any unofficial information that goes beyond that. So we'll wait and see. And as soon as we get more information, we'll make sure to communicate that out. But that's all I'm aware of at this point. On the subject of vaccines, you have probably seen, we sent out an update yesterday outlining our new requirement for all team members to be fully vaccinated. So that policy is now in place, and there's a timeline that all the team members and contracted care providers, contractors that work here in the community need to be fully vaccinated by the end of next month. We are obviously working, or going to be working, with all of our team members and contractors to encourage them to not wait until the end of next month to get their vaccination shots, those that have not yet received it. So I know that's been, many people have been looking forward to that policy coming out, myself included. And obviously this is an incredibly important step as we continue to experience the struggles of COVID-19. There are a few legally required exemptions for medical reasons and for sincerely held religious beliefs. And so if that is applicable to any of our team members or contractors, they'll be working with our human resources team to go through that process. And if there are team members that are exempt from the vaccination requirements, there's additional PPE requirements that they'll be required to wear at all times while working. There's also another update, which I believe just went out maybe 10 minutes before this call. There's a new requirement for visitors to the health center. And so currently there aren't any visitors permitted in the health center, but once we are able to welcome visitors back to the health center, there's a new requirement that all visitors that visit indoors need to be fully vaccinated prior to their visits, or they need to provide proof of a recent COVID-19 test within 72 hours of their visit. So that is in effect immediately, although, as I said, we don't currently permit visitors in the health center. So once we do, that will be in effect. We anticipate that that requirement will, well, I'll say I anticipate that that requirement will eventually move or spread to the, or apply to the rest of the community as well. Our community falls under the regulatory jurisdiction of several agencies, but the California Department of Public Health oversees the health center, all skilled nursing facilities. And then the California Department of Social Services oversees everything else outside of the health center. So we have sort of two parallel sets of regulations. Typically in situations like this, the California Department of Public Health will implement a new regulation or new requirement. And then history has shown us that shortly thereafter, typically, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes a little bit longer, the similar requirements are then applied or put in place by the Department of Social Services for the rest of the community. So I would anticipate in the not too distant future, any and all visitors that come into the community will either need to be fully vaccinated or have a very recent proof of a very recent negative COVID test. So if you have friends and family that like to come and see you and they are not vaccinated, please, please, please encourage them to do so. because one, it's the right thing to do, and two, it's the right thing to do if they can, and two, it will likely be a requirement very soon. I think that's it in terms of updates. I want to apologize for the overabundance of community update letters that we have been distributing. It seems like the last few days we've had at least one a day, sometimes more. I know it's hard to keep them all straight when they're all getting emailed or in your mailboxes. It's hard for us to sometimes keep them straight as well. So thank you for your understanding. If you ever have any questions about anything in any of those update letters, best thing to do is to reach out by email to the COVID team at covidtlg@humangood.org.
Bradley, this is Ruby Eck with a question.
Yes, Ruby.
Can we open the store tomorrow?
Yes,
Thank you.
you sure can. You're welcome. Yeah, as of today, we can open the store, we can open the library, fitness center,
Cool.
pool. Am I missing anything else? Salon. Library. Yes, all of those things we're able to open up again.
Bradley, is the podiatrist allowed to come on the 14th?
Yes, I think so. I mean,
Podiatrist will
they're-
not be here
oh.
this weekend.
Okay, there we have it.
What was that?
The podiatrist is able to come or is permitted to come, but it sounds like this weekend the podiatrist will not be here. Is that correct, Dana?
Correct.
Do we
Okay.
know the next scheduled day that they will be here?
No, not yet.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Any other questions at the moment?
Bradley, this is Sandy. I just want to make sure I wasn't here earlier at the beginning of this chat, but the TLG weekly updates, they will be distributed tomorrow and not today due to the power outage.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Sandy.
Okay, first question. If the electricity is off and we are in the elevator, are we going to be able to get out?
Yeah.
Good question. Yes, the elevators are set up in such a way that if the power goes out while you're in them, they should gently lower to the ground floor and open up. So there's a small battery on each elevator that will allow them to continue to function enough to get to the bottom and let you out. And if that's not the case, there is also another emergency way to help you get out of the elevators. So as Terry mentioned, one of the first things that we do whenever there's a power outage is go to check all the elevators, make sure that there's nobody stuck inside of them.
When will the work on the N and Q elevators proceed?
That is a great question, and I wish I had the answer. I don't know. But we will I'll find out, and we'll make sure to include that information. We'll put it on TLG Connect, and we'll also include it in the weekly updates that will go out tomorrow because it didn't go out today.
Yeah.
I don't have the original schedule in front of me now, and I'm sure the events of today will probably alter that schedule. So we'll get that communicated out as quickly as we can.
Yeah, we were talking about the GRA, and we're going to have Jeffrey Rosen come out, and that'll be this Wednesday at 2 o'clock. And it will be in the GRA. We've kind of gone back and forth on that, and I don't know if Dina's been able to fix up where it tells locations. But anyway, it definitely will be in the GRA, and it's going to be well worth coming and hearing him. Sharon Roth had recommended him as a speaker, and others also have said what a wonderful speaker he is. And there'll be a lot of information about our laws governing jails and courts and many, many things to be able to know about. I don't know if
Great. Thank you for that. And that again is going to take place next Wednesday
at 2 o'clock.
At 2 o'clock.
Right.
Thank you, Mrs. Shane.
And then Saturday, League of Women Voters is going to be available, where the registrar of voters for Santa Clara County will be there over Zoom, and also the vice president of League. And in contemporary issues, we were talking today about the voting, because it is very confusing about it, voting yes or voting no, and what's going on there, and how many votes does somebody need in order to win. And League is going to be answering our questions. So record first. My name may be on the thing where you register. I'm not sure. If it is, just wipe me out, put your name in, and register in advance of the 10 o'clock meeting. Wouldn't be a bad idea if right after finishing this program, you get on it and register at that time.
Great. Thank you for that reminder. And I believe that information is also up on TLG Connect on the news page. Also on the news page, you'll see, and then you'll see something on the news page on TLG Connect, as well as some signs as you enter the main dining room and also inside the main dining room. We really strongly want to encourage residents to continue to wear masks as much as you possibly can. So when you go into the dining room, please keep your masks on. You can remove them obviously when you're eating and when you're drinking, but please, to the greatest extent possible, keep those masks on at all times. When you're heading up to if you're going up to the salad bar from your table, make sure you put your mask back on. And while you're walking to and from your tables, please. I know it's a pain, but we've been doing it for so long. I know you're all used to it by now, but we just want to be as extra cautious as we possibly can. Numbers continue to go up throughout the county and other parts of the country, and we want to continue to do everything possible to keep you and our team members safe. Ms. Papanastas, yes.
The first set of testing that was done, not yesterday, but the one before that, are there results back for that?
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. We had a meeting this morning, and we were going to be working on printing and distributing all of those test results today. PG&E threw a wrench in those plans. We'll try to get those out as quickly as we can, but all of the test results were negative. So if you haven't received the actual results yet, but we have, and I can safely say that they were all negative, which is fantastic.
Yep.
Very, very, very good. Any other questions at this point?
Brandy, I'd like a little bit more detail on the message about the team members and contractors having to be fully vaccinated. It didn't look to me like they have the option of being tested. Is that correct?
That is, the option of being tested instead of being vaccinated? Is that
Yes,
right? Yeah, yes, that is not an option.
that is not an option.
The only exceptions to being fully vaccinated for contractors or team members is those two legally required exemptions for medical reasons or for sincerely held religious beliefs. But apart from those, if there's a team member or contractor that chooses not to, then they will not be permitted to work here anymore. We hope that that's not the case with anybody. But if there are any team members or contractors who do fall under one of those categories for exemption, they will be required to wear additional PPE. So they'll be, if I'm not mistaken, be required to wear an N95 mask as well as a face shield at all times. And then they will also be required to be tested twice weekly, indefinitely. But again, we hope that there aren't many, if any, of those cases, but that's what we would do.
Does contractors mean electricians and painters and gardeners and everybody?
Everybody.
Everybody. Wonderful.
Yes, I agree. Any other questions? All right. Well, sorry to make it shorter than usual, but we'll let you get back to your day. Again, the dining room is open, and hope you all have a wonderful evening and dinner, and stay tuned for more community update letters coming later today and tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.